Dear students, a warm welcome to everyone. In this course, Bioprocess Engineering, we have been studying basic principles and concepts required to produce metabolites from various sources. Being at home for the past 1 year, you would have learned how to make a cup of tea. The basic ingredients are water, milk, tea dust, sugar, and some spices. With these basic raw materials, you will be able to make up a tasty tea. But unfortunately, if some 10 guests come to your home and your mom asks you to prepare for 10 cups, can you prepare it without a second thought? Certainly not. You will be making out the basic measurements for all the ingredients. Am I right? You will be taking the measurements for 10 cups from the knowledge you have gained to make 1 cup. In doing so, can you attain the same taste that you prepare with a single cup? Obviously, the taste will not be retained. Rice is a part of a midday meal, but if we wanted to make it in a larger scale, then there will be a certain loss in texture of the rice. In both the cases, whether it is tea or rice, the end result of the process will be obtained in 20 to 30 minutes. Similarly, in bioprocess, the process carried out with conical flask cannot be directly carried out in the reactor of production scale. Bioprocess is broadly classified into upstream and downstream process. Upstream, the medium will be sterilized and the process of fermentation or bioprocess will be carried out depending upon the metabolite, and downstream processing is none but the purification of the given product. The upstream process will be spanning for a period of 10 days and downstream processing will be further taking a span of 1 week, wherein it will be taking at least a fortnight to estimate the yield from a process. If the predicted yield is not attained, the hard work by the process engineers will have no meaning, and also it drastically affects the economics of the process. Scale up of operations is an engineering problem encountered in translating a successful laboratory scale process into commercial venture. The various steps involved are identification and isolation of strain, preservation of strain, culturing of inoculum, pre-fermentation culturing, fermentation, recovery and purification, and treatment of effluents. In the first step, the suitable strain that is able to produce the given metabolite will be identified from the suitable source and restrained using biochemical, microbial and molecular techniques. The particular strain of organism will be validated for further use in the bioprocess. The strain that is able to produce metabolite will be preserved for upcoming process using suitable cryopreservation techniques such as storing at minus 80 degrees Celsius or storing under liquid nitrogen. The given suitable organisms will be cultured into conical flask using any of the suitable methods such as inoculation from frozen stock onto petri plate and then to tube cultures, then further subculturing into conical flask. In the second method, the inoculum from the frozen stock will be subcultured into petri plates and then the pure colony will be directly inoculated into conical flask. In the third method, the inoculum from the stock will be subcultured directly into test tubes and the overnight tube cultures will be subcultured into conical flasks. In certain cases where we don't have any specific time and we are confident enough that the cryopreserved culture is highly pure, then from the frozen stock it can be directly subcultured into conical flask. So from the conical flask, the pre-fermentation culturing will be carried out wherein the cultures that have been grown in the conical flask at the optimum conditions of the microorganisms will be fed into seed fermenters and the cultures at the log phase will be further subcultured into larger reactors and from the seed fermenters the cultures at its early log phase will be further added into the production scale reactors, wherein these first 4 steps, which are of typically laboratory stage development and do not require any efforts for scaling. The process of fermentation is carried out when the given organism is added into the medium containing suitable substrate, wherein the substrate will be broken down into ethanol, wherein this process will be carried out under anaerobic conditions in the presence of yeast cells, wherein for the production of various other metabolites, the bioprocesses will be carried out, wherein metabolic pathways will be tailored in such a way that the organisms are able to produce suitable metabolites. Here is an example where different antibiotics can be produced, where the hexophosphate pathway is activated to produce antibiotics such as kanamycin, streptomycin and neomycin, but for the production of actinomycin, the succinic acid pathway will be activated. So, for depending upon the type of metabolite to be produced, the key metabolic pathways will be activated by using suitable inducers. So, once the typical metabolites are produced in the broth, the further process deals with the extraction, purification and polishing of the final product. So, the product that is being obtained from the broth will be subjected to purification, wherein the unused medium and the live cells will be decontaminated using suitable methods, and the effluents has to be treated properly before letting into the water bodies, wherein these last 3 steps, fermentation process, recovery and purification and treatment of effluents, requires high level of engineering inputs for scale up. Any given bioprocess can be carried out under 3 main scales. First comes the laboratory scale, second is the pilot scale and third one is the production scale. In the laboratory scale, the process will be carried out in the small scale reactors, and most commonly the laboratory scale reactors will be made up of glass, and suitable probes will be immersed into the broth to monitor and control various processes. But the pilot scale reactors are made up of stainless steel and resembles as like the production scale. These pilot scale reactors are in the size between laboratory scale and production scale, where the pilot scale reactor studies are carried out with larger volumes of medium and inoculum size, and the optimum conditions are met as if optimized in the laboratory scale. Third is the production scale fermenters, where actual bioprocess is carried out, which resembles the pilot scale reactors as such, but the size of the reactor vessel is very high and holds a larger broth. The basic purpose of any bioprocess is to ensure that the fermentation process is technically and economically viable to be produced in the end at a large scale, allows investigation of the product and process on small scale and intermediate scale before large amount of money will be invested. The main purpose of scale up is to get the same fermentation efficiency as obtained in small scale fermenters, as failing of process at industrial scale will be causing $1,000,000 loss. So scaling up gives more confidence on chance of success and against economic disasters. There are various associated tasks that has to be carried out during scale up of any given bioprocess. The basic studies to be carried out during scale up includes inoculum development, where pure strain of inoculum has to be isolated and necessary conditions that supports the growth of organism and metabolite has to be studied in detail, and it has to be ensured that the strain that is being used for culturing should be less mutagenic in nature. The second step involves sterilization for establishing the correct sterilization cycle at larger loads. Next, the process parameters including nutrient availability, pH, temperature, dissolved oxygen and dissolved carbon dioxide has to be optimized in order to suit the conditions required for production scale. Scale-up studies are carried out at the laboratory or even at pilot plant reactors to yield data that could be used to extrapolate and build in large reactors. The basic steps involved in scale up are define product economics. There should be no time lag between the scale of operations. The pilot plant study has to be carried out as per the guidelines of regulatory agencies, and the product and process has to be evaluated for economic efficacy. First, the product economics based on projected market size on competitive selling and provide guidance for allowable manufacturing costs has to be ascertained, and the laboratory studies and scale up planning has to be done at the same time, where the small scale, bench scale and pilot production scale operations has to be done parallelly, and each data has to be noted and has to be validated in order to estimate the efficacy of the process. Next, conduct preliminary tests larger than laboratory studies with equipment to be used to aid in plant design. So, we have to design and construct a pilot plant including provisions for process and environmental controls, cleaning and sanitization systems, packaging and waste handling system, and also it should meet the regulatory agency requirements. Finally, we should be able to evaluate pilot plant results both in the product and process, including product economics, to make any corrections and to conclude into a decision on whether or not to proceed with the full scale plant development. So finally, we try to build industrial size fermenters capable or close of producing the bioprocess as producing the products as efficient as produced in the small scale reactors. Various modeling methods are being carried out to scale up. First comes the chemical similitude, where computer aided modeling and simulations in the development, integration, optimization of industrial process will be carried out. Next, the mathematical modeling will be carried out, where the mathematical modeling is the process of using various mathematical structures such as graphs, equations, diagrams, scatter plots, tree diagrams and so forth to represent the real world situations. Third, finite elemental analysis will be carried out, which is a computerized method for predicting how a product reacts to real world forces. Is a computerized method for predicting how a product reacts to real world. Finally, computational fluid dynamics can be carried out, which is the use of applied mathematics, physics and computational softwares to solve and analyze problems that involves fluid flows. For the optimum design of a production scale fermentation system, we must translate the data on a small scale to the large scale. The fundamental requirement for scale up is that the model and prototype should be similar to each other, asserting the geometric similarity of the physical boundaries and dynamic similarity of the flow fluid. If adequate amount of oxygen is not transferred in the large scale reactors, the cell growth will be reduced and accordingly the product yield will also get reduced during scale up. This means that oxygen mass transfer plays a crucial role in scale up of a process. The necessary input parameters for facilitating mass transfer inside a reactor are: first comes the system physical properties, in which the material that is being used for constructing the reactor vessel and various probes plays a major role in ensuring proper mass transfer in the reactor. The biochemical properties such as pH, media and various metabolites being produced plays a major role in ensuring mass transfer inside a reactor. Providing the reactors with suitable medium enhances the biochemical properties. Next comes the operational conditions, which is facilitated by maintaining optimum temperature, agitator speed and gas flow rate into and out of the reactor. Finally, is the geometrical parameters, wherein suitable aspect ratios of the reactor vessel and the ratio between agitator diameter and agitator height has to be maintained in order to provide efficient yield at the end of a given process. The various factors that affect scale-up process are: first comes the bubble size. Normally, a bubbles of size between 2 to 3 mm has to be maintained inside the reactor. Next, the gas holdup has to be maintained. Higher gas holdup increases higher gas holdup results in higher interfacial area and hence higher mass transfer rate inside the reactor. The diameter of discharger should be almost equal to that of impeller and as a rule of thumb will be one-third the diameter of the tank and should be always positioned below the agitator to enhance the mass transfer rate. The gas velocity is the linear velocity of the gas obtained by dividing volumetric flow rate of the gas with the cross-sectional area of the vessel. The mass transfer rate increases with gas velocity and further affecting the scale-up of the process. The type of agitator and agitator design for effective mixing influences the mass transfer rate, and suitable type of agitators have to be used for gas liquid, liquid liquid, liquid solid and gas liquid solid systems. The dependence of power number on the agitator speed varies depending upon the type of flow. The increase in temperature increases the diffusivity of the gas into the liquid and hence increases the mass transfer coefficient. But increase in temperature decreases the solubility of the gas and hence reduces the driving force for mass transfer. Pressure affects the scale-up process by increasing the solubility of gas in the liquid phase. Most of the fermentation broths contain proteins which cause foaming. Thus, foaming is an inevitable nuisance in fermentation broths and should be avoided. In the smaller scale reactors, the anti-foaming agents can be used, but in the production scale, the addition of anti-foaming agents during the course of the process will be disturbing the organisms. So, mechanical foam breakers has to be used at regular intervals so as to reduce foam formation so that the mass transfer rate is enhanced and the predicted yield will be obtained. Finally, the oxygen mass transfer in fermentation broth is greatly influenced by the presence of cells. Their cells interfere in breakup and makeup of gas bubbles by influencing its surface properties. These cells sometimes gets absorbed at the gas liquid interface and causes surface blanketing which hinders the yield of a process. The scale-up methods for aeration and agitation may be studied under three heads. Constant KLA, in which KLA stands for oxygen mass transfer rate. Thus, constant KLA implies maintaining equal mass transfer rate both in the small scale and in the large scale fermenters. Next, a constant P by V ratio leads us to employ higher speeds of impeller tip in the scale up of bioreactors. The higher tip speed may cause higher shearing effect, which in turn may be detrimental for the performance of microorganisms in the bioprocess. For shear sensitive fermentation broths, constant tip speed is the best approach. The choice of a bioreactor for a particular biotechnological process is a very difficult task and is dependent more on the experience rather than on the clear-cut rules. The three main strategy that aids in choosing a particular bioreactor for a given process depends upon cost, convenience, and compatibility of the given bioreactor to suit the basic needs. For example, for low viscosity broths, stir tank, airlift, or bubble column reactors can be used. For fermentation broths with particle attrition, the packed bed reactors can be used. For high heat of reaction systems, we use fluidized bed or bubble column reactors. When immobilized systems are used, then the packed towers, fluidized beds, and airlift reactors are the vessels for suitable choice. In cases of shear sensitive mammalian, insect, or plant cells, The stirred tank reactors should not be used, wherein the bubble column and airlift reactor has to be used in order to maintain viability of the cell. The fundamental requirement would be that at small and large reactor, the geometry should be similar. There are two kinds of similarities that prevails in any bioreactor construction. One is the geometrical similarity and other is the dynamic similarity of flow fluids. When we are scaling up from one size to the other, then we have to ensure that the scale up by two different vessels include geometrical similarity as well as dynamic similarity, which is concerning the similarity between flow fields. Geometrical similarity means the small and large reactor should have the same shape and all the linear dimensions of the small reactor would be related to the corresponding dimensions of the large bioreactor by a constant scale factor. Suppose we have two reactors. Let the diameter of small reactor be d and the height of the tank is small h. And now dynamic similarity means that with respect to flow fields, the dynamic similarity is the similarity with respect to the flow fields. It means that the ratio of flow velocities of the corresponding fluid particles should be same in both the reactors, and as well as the forces acting on corresponding fluid particles in both should also be same. So, when dynamic similarity of the two flow fields with geometrical similar boundaries is achieved. So, when dynamic similarity of the two flow fields with geometrically similar boundaries is achieved, the flow fields exhibit geometrically similar flow patterns. So, in this case, the fluid particle should experience same forces which are acting on the fluid particles, and the flow velocities of the fluid particles or the corresponding fluid particles or the two scales at a specific location or similar location should also be the same. So, the forces that may exist on a fluid element during agitation, they include viscous force, drag force, gravity force. Now, viscous force can be given in terms of stress-strain relationship as now in an agitator system, the average velocity gradient, this which we have written, and the area on which the viscous force acts, which is given here as A, is proportional to square of the impeller diameter. So, then your viscous force can become a function of viscosity, the impeller velocity, and the diameter of the square of the impeller square. Then the drag force in the agitator system, it can be expressed as given by the power number, where P0 will be the power dissipated by impeller without aeration. So, here you can say that the drag force will be proportional to the power dissipated divided by the impeller speed and the impeller diameter, which is n into di would be the linear velocity. So, your drag force can be proportional to the power dissipated by the impeller by the linear velocity. Gravity force is equal to mass times the gravitational constant. So, your mass is density and volume part has been represented by the cube of impeller diameter, and you have the gravitational constant. So, this becomes the mass and this is the gravitational constant. So, your gravitational force is a function of impeller diameter and gravitational constant. Now, summation of all these forces is equal to inertial force. Now, this is said to be proportional to your diameter of the impeller to the power of 4 and square of the impeller speed. Now, for dynamic similarity between the model and prototype of the two levels, which we call as M and P. So, dynamic similarity means what? That the viscous force at model type to viscous force at the prototype. This ratio is varying, can be given by a constant factor, and the ratio of the forces acting on fluid element at the two scales are equal. So, your viscous force model type to viscous force of prototype is equal to drag force at the model type to drag force at the prototype. Similarly, your gravitational forces and inertial force. So, in dimensionless form, you can do some rearrangements. Your inertial force and viscous force ratio at the prototype can be made equal to the inertial force to viscous force ratio at the model type. Now, the ratio of inertial force to viscous force is that we call as Reynolds number, and you can write it as rho into n into di squared by mu. Similarly, going to the equality, your ratio of inertial force to drag force at the prototype can be made equal to the ratio of inertial force to drag force at the model type by rearranging the equation 1, and this ratio is nothing but your inverse of power number. Similarly, the ratio of the inertial force to gravitational force at the prototype will be equal to the ratio of inertial force to gravitational force at the model type, and this ratio is called as Froude's number and can be represented as n square di by g. So, the dynamic similarity is achieved only when the values of these dimensionless parameters are the same at the geometrically similar locations in both model and the prototype. So, let us see by a scale-up is a challenge after understanding that for effective scale-up, what is the principle behind scale-up. So, we have understood now that it is the dynamic similarity which should be met and the geometrical similarity. Now, why it is a challenge to meet the similarities? Let us take this example to understand the power consumption by an agitator baffled vessel. So, your power number is on the left hand side, which is said to be function of your Reynolds number, and determine the power consumption and impeller speed of 1000 gallon fermenter based on the optimum conditions derived from 1 gallon vessel. So, our model type volume was 1 gallon and the prototype was 1000 gallon. So, we need to find out first the impeller speed and the power consumption. Then there is the question which has to be answered, which is a scale up possible with respect to dynamic similarity. So, let us see. Now, we know that the ratio of the volume or the prototype to model type is given 1000. So, from here we can find the ratio of the diameter of the impeller of the prototype and the model type, which will be 10. Now, let us go one by one. Let us take the first requirement, the NRE, to be same. So, if NRE is equal at the two levels, the correlation between N and Di, because the liquid properties will not change at the two levels. So, let us call this as prototype and other one as model type. So, the liquid properties can be cancelled because they will not change. So, then your NP into DIP square will be equal to NM DIM square. So, your NP by NM ratio is equal to DIM by DIP, the whole square is not. So, this comes out to be a relationship by taking care of N into OE being same at the two levels. Now, what about the similarity for the second dimensionless number, which is your power number? So, if we keep NP same, then your P0 by N cube Di to the power of 5 at the prototype should be equal to P0 by N cube Di to the power of 5 and the model type. Now, that P0 at the prototype by P0 at model type will be equal to. So, here we know DIP by DIM was equal to 10. So, if you rearrange this, your P0 at prototype will become equal to P0 at model type multiplied by 10 to the power of 5 multiplied by NP by NM the whole cube, and from the previous NRE substitution we could find that NP by NM was equal to dm by dp, the whole square. So this was 1 to 10 square, 1 by 100. So we know that NP by NM is equal to 1 by 100. So from your first similarity, NP by NM is coming out to be 1 by 100. So if you see here, Frost number similarity at the model type should be equal to prototype, should be equal to the other model type. Gravitation constant is the same. So this is 10. Your NP by NM is 1 by under root 10. But if you remember, by the power number similarity, we were finding that NP by NM is equal to 1 by 100. So if you see 2 and 3 are two different types of correlations by the ratio of NP by NM, which is not possible. Hence, we can find that keeping dynamic similarities same is very challenging. These values can be made same only if we manipulate the properties of the fluid, where viscosity and density can be made to change. But it is the scale up of the same system which is to be done. So therefore, it is difficult to satisfy equality of all dimensionless parameters simultaneously. Hence, to reduce the number of parameters involved as to make them as few possible, it is required to determine the most important dimensionless parameter which can be kept constant during the scale up. So even if only one parameter is involved, it is required to define the scale up criteria. Like for example, for a fully baffled vessel, we can assume that NRE would be greater than 10 to the power of 4, which means it will be in the turbulence region and your power number can be constant. So then the dynamic similarity will be satisfied if the power numbers are same at the prototype and the model type. So with this similarity, if we can notice in the equality given here for the power numbers, then your diameter of impeller ratios or the prototype and the model type is equal to the scale ratio. So if the scale ratio is known and the operating conditions of the model is known, it is difficult to predict the operating conditions of the prototype still. Why? Because there are two unknowns still. P0 is unknown and N is also unknown. So hence we then apply a scale up criteria which can be used to keep this dimensionless number same. So your ratios of diameter of the impeller at the prototype and the model type, this will be the scale ratio. So even if the scale ratio is known and the rest of operating conditions of the model type is known, it is still very difficult to predict the operating conditions of the prototype, because there are still two variables, the power input and impeller speed. So therefore, we again select certain criteria which can be used for scale up. With this basic knowledge, let us summarize the concepts that we have covered in today's class. The scale up criteria for various bioreactors have been dealt so far, where the parameters to be considered for scale up are Reynolds number, impeller tip velocity, constant P by V, and use of suitable agitators. Thank you everyone for joining the class. We shall meet in the next session.